So it tells me that we went live, but I'm looking at the event page and I don't see anything. Waiting for
Okay.
broadcast.
Technical glitches.
Yes, exactly. So we're
Just
probably
want.
live on the other platforms. But of course, the one that I was trying to do, LinkedIn, I can't figure out for my life. Here, I'm going to bring up Twitter. We'll drag this over. So it still says waiting for broadcast in. There's Frank. Hey, Frank.
Hey, Frank.
How you doing, Dan? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're coming through loud and clear.
No problem. No camera with me tonight, so...
Oh, that's fine.
That's fine.
So we're live on Twitter. That's working fine. But of course, we are not live on LinkedIn. And I still apparently am missing something in what I need to set up for that. And I'm not sure what it is. So what I did that I thought would be everything we need is I edited the locations we're live on. Oh, did it switch it back to my profile for some reason? There it is. Okay. Let's see if that does it. Sending data. Is that going to work? It'd be so cool if it did. Because I've been waiting for this to work, and I thought I had it working.
It says we're live.
Yes. Okay. I figured it out, and that's my bad. I apologize. Now we are live on LinkedIn. We are live on Twitter, and we're live on Twitch, which is the only platform that I don't really understand out of the three.
I can see there's no video on LinkedIn. It's coming up black for me here, but
it should be on the page. So I'll send a link to you in restream here. There's a chat.
Perfect.
And then I don't know how the chat works.
No, it's there, Dan. It's typical technology taking its time on a Friday night.
Yes. So it is streamed and there is a delay because of the different platforms. So when I've done this with YouTube and Twitter and LinkedIn and Teams, a lot of times they seem a little, 5 seconds delay or something. So I think the stream gets put to restream. And then my understanding from somebody at Microsoft is that Restream uses Azure, probably media services, to then push that content out to the other platforms live. And the live might be like a 5-second delay to 20-second delay because of those different platforms. But that's how we can go live on all these different platforms at once. So I had invited Rolf from Germany, who's now living in Ireland. I mentioned to him to you, Matthew, and you to him. Rolf, when we switched our time to 2 hours later, said he's driving to the airport. So he and I caught up. I didn't realize he had gone back to Microsoft like 2 days ago, or at least announced it 2 days ago. So he is now a customer success manager for director. I guess he has customer success managers reporting to him in his new role over in Ireland. And I don't know if that's Ireland specific or if he has like a larger geography, but I'm sure we'll catch up with him at some point.
Yeah.
And a couple other MVPs or MCTs that I knew did send notes about this. Let's see if anybody else comes through that guest link. So otherwise, this is typically how I go live. It's me, myself, and I. So there's 2 more people than normal. Frank, Nice to meet
Yeah,
you.
nice to meet you. So this is your first time doing this this gig, is it?
This is my first time doing it with other folks, with the exception of I used to do a show with friend Mark Steele. And so Mark and I were sharing my my Restream account, and we used to go live every Thursday night. So we kind of figured out how to go live, but we were using Mark's page instead of an event. So Mark's profile, if you use a profile on LinkedIn, people, instead of having to sign up for the event and find the event and then attend the event, can just go to your LinkedIn profile, and right above your profile, the live video starts. Mark has twice as many followers as I have. So when we went live on Mark's, we'd have multiple people. And there's, hey, how are you?
Hi.
Thank you for joining us. We've got Frank and Matthew from over in Ireland. Frank, I'm assuming you're in Ireland as
Yeah.
well. Good.
I'm in Cork City, down in the south of Ireland.
Excellent.
Oh, how cool.
Excellent.
Fabulous spot, Frank. Fabulous spot. I met the love of my life there. So.
Very good.
Thanks
cool.
a million for joining us, Mika. It's nice to have you.
Thank you. It's Micah, like Micah sauce.
Micah.
There you go.
Micah.
No worries.
Mike, I don't know if we've ever talked in person. I know we met over LinkedIn when I was supporting your employer, and I don't even think we met in person when I was down there, did we?
No, I don't think we've ever met.
Yeah.
It's great to officially meet you.
Exactly. We've been friends on LinkedIn for quite a while. And that's how I met all these gentlemen and ladies and gentlemen that I invited to this. Is most of those connections, Noelle Silver, who is a recent MVP, probably a year, and Jackie Chiatti, who I invited, were both people that I connected with on LinkedIn. Jackie and I met in person because we had Microsoft Ignite at a physical location before the pandemic, and we had an opportunity to meet in person. And Jackie is a recent, like maybe 2 or 3 months MVP, as well as an MCT. And Noelle and I think connected over Twitter, and she had asked some questions about demographics of MVPs that I didn't have a good answer for, and reached out to her and, found out her story and her involvement with AI. So she is I think there's an Azure AI category for MVPs, and that's her category. And the reason for the title, MCTs, MVPs, and Wannabes, was for years I had interest in, what does it take to be an MVP? What are they looking for? How do you get kind of your community contributions aware, people at Microsoft or other MVPs aware of your community contributions? How do you get them involved with those events? And I updated my profile religiously for like 3 years, which apparently isn't the way you do it anymore. You have to be nominated. So the first step from a MVP perspective is a nomination. And then the MVP program, unlike the MCT, which is the Microsoft Certified Trainer Program, the MCT program is you do A, B, C, and you're in. With the MVP program, which stands for Most Valuable Professional, and it's a Microsoft award, you do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You do all sorts of stuff. You document all that. And then once you've been nominated and you accept your nomination, there's a privacy thing there too. So I need to have permission to nominate somebody. I can't just identify somebody in the community and say, hey, I think that person would make a great award recipient. I have to get their permission before I nominate them. And that's part of what I agreed to. And then as part of that nomination, the nominee, unlike other awards where it might already be out there, what you did, and everybody knows, hey, go watch this movie, it's an Academy Award, or listen to this song or album, and we're going to decide who had the best breakout album this year as a new artist, or who is the best female solo artist, whatever the different Grammy award categories are. But this is something that you as the nominee have to document all those things, because it's not one thing. It's not like those awards that are based on one thing. I equated it to the lifetime achievement, but it's only 12 months that you document. So instead of one event for MVP, you might do live streams like this on a regular basis. You might do blog posts. Matthew, that's how we became acquainted, was through blog posts and LinkedIn. You might do LinkedIn, Twitter, other social network work. You might do classes that are available for free. Matthew, that was another passion we talked about connecting on.
Yeah.
And so the Wannabe piece came from the fact that there's not, for one of them, there's a very strict, here's how you get in, and you're in as an MCT, a Microsoft certified trainer. From my perspective, there's some hurdles there, but they were hurdles that how to jump. Yeah. With the MVP, there are hurdles there. And some of those hurdles, like if you go to mvp.microsoft.com, they give you examples of this is what it takes to be an MVP, but it's an award. So there's no, if you speak at 4 events and have, 10 or more people in the audience, you become an MVP. It's an award. So it's not necessarily a certain amount of types of contributions. They don't have to all be speaking. That's another thing. You find that some MVPs don't do the public speaking piece, but they do a lot of blogging and tech community work and give back in different ways. Write books. Books count as contributions. So questions. I've got 3 folks here that might have questions or interest in this.
Let's have them.
I was nominated. Sorry, Micah, you want to?
No, go right ahead.
Yeah. Dan, you were saying there that, you have to kind of do a certain amount of things. But I was nominated the year before last. And I started doing some public speaking before COVID kind of knocked everything on the head and drove it all online. So I did do a few of the meetups online, and I'd done some public ones before that. And the blog thing, I'd done a blog every week. I kind of picked one, a letter of the alphabet, and I'd done some topic in Azure over the whole lot. So A, B, C, D. So, I had a YouTube channel then as well. So I kind of done all the kind of bits and pieces that people do for it, but
that was my mistake.
Okay.
That was my mistake, Frank. I assumed that people were looking at, how when you got that nomination, you get a link to put everything in, and here's a link to my LinkedIn, and here's a link to this broadcast, and here's a link to a blog post, and everything you talked about. What they changed in the program, and I should have been paying attention to this, or at least reached out to find out, hey, do you want me to fill out a new nomination, or do you want to use the one I've been filling out? Every 3 months, they basically scrap the nominations, and you need to be renominated as an MVP. So I think some of that is because they get a lot of nominations, and as they work through the nominations, there may be just an assumption, hey, we have a 3-month window we're working from, and we want that nomination to be brought to our attention again type thing. So I had actually already gone through a re-nomination when I found out February 1st that I became an MVP. So I didn't have to fill it out again, but I was getting prepared to fill it out again as a nominee, if you will. So that's exactly my story. I had been nominated once. I got some feedback. I was told I had to wait to get renominated. I got renominated, and then I just assumed that the nomination would, somehow, that I'd hear back basically. And my mistake was not reaching out, not having somebody either renominate me or reach out to the community manager that I knew, and find out, hey, is this something that is hitting your inbox, or that ticks off like, hey, Dan's updated his profile kind of thing. And my understanding is, however that system works, it doesn't work that way. So the renomination, I don't know if it requires you to redocument because the documentation is already in SharePoint, but the renomination is part of the process now. So if it's been over 3 months and you've done other work in that 12-month window moves, my understanding is you need to be renominated.
Okay. Thanks.
Joseph has joined us as well. Joe.
Hey, Joe.
To see you.
Hello. Sorry.
How's it going?
Just got home from work, so I'm just
Hey, Joe.
trying to catch up. Hey, Matthew. How's it going? Thank you
Good.
for attending last night. Really meant a lot. And nice
It-
to meet you,
it was-
Frank.
It was an amazing event, Joe. And for anyone that's on this that doesn't know, Joe is running amazing events in respect of veterans in the United States, helping them get on their feet in IT and jobs and helping with homelessness. So that's something we can all get behind in the times we have at the moment. And it's just an amazing way to give back. So hats off to you, Joe.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And it's in the. I have such a passion for it that I can't. When I start getting excited, that's when my presentation goes to crap, because it's like, oh, I just got so much stuff to say, but it's like, just calm down. And I was told, hey, use cue cards, so if you get off track, like, oh, okay, let me refocus. But that's something that I'm passionate about. I'm a veteran myself. I suffer from PTSD. I've been down that road to suicide attempts. So I understand. Like, I have that passion that's like that people don't understand. It's you can't sit there and not, if you haven't experienced it, you can't say that you have. But that's the whole goal of Project Veteran House, is to provide a transition from homelessness to a career path, and then ultimately to live the best life that you can as a veteran, and and going through the things that we go through every day. So, I mean, for the most part, that's what it boils down to, is giving them the services and support that they deserve.
Yeah, Project Veteran House was the event that you kicked off last night, and I echo everything Matthew said. It was very powerful, and I'm glad you've got a group of people to start that project. And Will, he runs the homeless veteran coalition across the U.S. And I had talked to him before on my way. Since it's Lent, we can't eat meat on Fridays, so I had to go across Charles County to get shrimp. So that's why I was a little late. But he is offering. He works with organizations, and he has some different templates that they use for teaching veterans or just people in general how to get a job, like what to look for, LinkedIn, what to look for, how to construct your resume so it gets the keywords that they're looking for in a position or a job. And he has those templates, and he wants, I've partnered with him, as and he says we can just rebrand, not necessarily step by step, but
rebrand what their idea is, and bring it into our focus and what our vision is for Project Veteran House.
Excellent. And Micah, I know we we had you join us, and would love to hear either your question. If you want to do an intro, you're welcome to.
Yeah.
Sure. Hi, I'm Micah Hansen. I have been a Microsoft rep from, I guess, 2011 to 2015 in Best Buys, training Best Buy people how to sell Microsoft products. And then I became a master trainer for retail. So I travel nationally training people on how to sell all the products. And now I work for Lee Health, which is a hospital system. We have about 13,000 employees, and I create training for Microsoft Office. Predominantly, I train other non-clinical software, but write a lot of content on Office and exercise files. I probably do at least one 1-hour class every day. So I absolutely love Microsoft Office. It's fun.
That's awesome.
That's brilliant.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, so I guess my question, so it's for the community basically that you are nominated. It doesn't matter really what you do in your work life. It's more how you contribute to the community for the MVP award. Is that correct?
Right. Okay. So Micah, like anything you do for Lee Health internally doesn't officially count. And if it's your day job, there's some, I guess, some guidance on this can't be your day job. Like if I'm a trainer and somebody pays me, you can't be an MVP at Microsoft. But if a partner pays me to go out and give free webinars, if that's my job, they don't want me counting that, because that sets up I'm doing 40 hours a week that count, and you're doing 40 hours a week that doesn't count. But if anything at Lee Health that you're doing can be something that you broadcast for, free to the community, and it's not considered part of your 9 to 5 type thing, or even if you took some of those lessons and did those, publicly on YouTube or LinkedIn or a blog or something else, anything community based counts.
Well,
so cool.
I would what I found, Micah, is giving people free advice on how to best study for the fundamental exams. I think that is a real winner, and I see a lot of people retweeting my tweets lately about my blog postings on like SC 900 security compliance and the likes of because Microsoft have brought out pretty much 4 fundamental exams on security, and because security is a hot topic at the moment, and it will be for the foreseeable future, people find that really interesting. And I mean, what I found is there are plenty of people giving content on these exams, but what some people want is they just want to know the basics. They want to understand what's the best way to study for an exam? What's the best content to look at? Who are the people I should be following and learning from? And if I'm honest, which is one of the most amazing things is Frank is on our call here, and for the last 3 or 4 years, I've been following Frank's LinkedIn profile, and I've been following the kind of content he does. And it was actually, I worked in Dell for a period of time, and I reached out to Frank a few years ago, and we connected, and I just found the stuff he was putting up interesting. And I suppose that's what accelerated my journey in Microsoft certification, in learning, in helping for people. I'm an MCT like the rest of the folks on this call, and I don't do it for any money. I do it for the simple reason I enjoy doing it. I enjoy helping people to learn. And because I do it outside of any working hours in my free time, people benefit from it. Therefore, I'm giving back to community and helping others move on with their lives and help them better in their careers. And that's what I think is amazing about MVP and being nominated and stuff for it. Microsoft see that. They see you're driven to help people, and that's something really good. And I do see like a lot of people going that route lately with helping others. As Dan would say, I would say the most important thing is really getting involved in the communities. That's key, isn't it, Dan?
Yeah. So this is one of, I don't even remember if I listed this specifically, but I listed the event that I presented it at in 2000.
It's a little blurry, Dan. Sorry.
Okay, thanks. Not sure why it's blurry.
Could just be my eyes. So.
Okay, it's a screen share of a document. So LinkedIn allows you to upload PowerPoints, but it converts the PowerPoints to a PDF. And this is a PDF of 300 people within the LinkedIn community that you should know that are involved with Microsoft Teams. And so the conversion of what was already more than 300 slides to a LinkedIn document is where I learned that you can't have more than 300 pages when you upload to LinkedIn. That is the limit. So I had to take the 325 and figure out, who am I going to eliminate, or what companies that are doing work within the Teams environment am I going to pull out? And I ended up with probably, it's less than 300 because there's like an intro slide and some other things, but just people that you should know in the LinkedIn community. And then at least from the PowerPoint perspective, these all linked to their actual LinkedIn profile. So if there's somebody like, this person works for Microsoft, it would be a good person for me to be in contact with. You could click on the slide, which is also available. I think it's in the comments of this. And you're taken right to Troy's LinkedIn profile. So you could actually add him as a connection, or at least follow him to see his updates. They've added a new feature in the upper right where you can hit a notification bell and see everything that Troy posts. So instead of just kind of random, the most popular things may hit your news feed, you can hit that notification bell and you see everything somebody posts practically real time to your notifications in LinkedIn. So things like this, because I did this on my own, even though the conference was during the day, I traveled to the conference. I brought my niece and one of her friends. So I also made Microsoft aware of that. It wasn't something that I necessarily had like a category, bring a friend to a conference or bring somebody, a young professional into the industry to their first IT conference. But I figured out a place to put that, and I mentioned it to my community manager. So at the time, it was the community manager assigned to assist me with my nomination. And then either way, you're supposed to get a feedback from that community manager. So the other thing, like I said, when I was updating, that was on me, not on her, was I never followed up. I never said, hey, is there any word back? How are things going with, the community work I'm doing? Is there anything else that I can do? I've heard other people that have been nominated that have been told things like, you need to be more technical. And so I'd love to hear from the folks here. What do you think about, does an MVP need to be technical, or do they need to be involved with the community? What are your thoughts?
I mean, my thoughts, I think an MVP is, you think about it as like, and I'm sorry, I turned my camera off. My hand was shaking.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
but it's one of those days, I think an MVP is like in football, it's the person that can run the offense and then also be a leader. So yeah, technical is, I would say 10% of it in my eyes. And then the 90% would be community outreach and helping, because that's what the MVP to me is. Not necessarily, I can go in PowerShell and run this command, or I can go in PowerPoint and, and do a cartoon type power, a deck. So I think it all comes to, giving back and be able to provide and not want anything in return. That's the problem with today's society, I think, is people want something in return. Like, you don't want, this comes from your heart. So, and that's, in my eyes, is the MVP. So
I
you give from your heart, then, you deserve to be the MVP.
I would second that, Joe. Absolutely. I think MVP is really about the dedication and support you give to others. It's not so much about the technical side. Because I mean, we see a lot of people these days with the last 2 years they've got certified, and that's great and that's good and that's lovely. But it's about how you use those skills to better all the different generations. Like I mentor people in the UK at least twice a week for the last 2 years, and one of the guys I mentored has actually gotten a job, his first job in IT today. He told me
That's awesome.
after a long process, about 6 months, I think, by the time it all went through. But he said he couldn't have done it without my help and support and showing him what Microsoft is all about. And that's what an MVP does. An MVP supports people and gives them the best routes into technology and how to better themselves. And 100%, Joe, it's 10% technical and 90% personality and giving back. Yeah.
Right. And I agree. And I think being able to relate to with somebody, you go in there and start talking technical terms, like what is going on here? Having to understand, like more like a high level view of it, not necessarily an in-depth, breakdown of things. But yeah, I definitely agree with you, Matthew, on that.
What's your opinion, Micah?
I love that this is what it's all about. Like, I guess I didn't really realize, but yeah, I'm thinking about, I would love to like help foster kids, like there's so many foster kids out there that don't go to college at all. A lot of, like, I was a foster kid and I was the only one of my foster mom's kids who graduated from college, and she had, I don't know, probably at least 100. So I think it'd be awesome to help people, like, when they're teenagers, start to dive into something and get the concept that, they are smart enough to do something like that. Because I know personally, I was intimidated by technology, so just to introduce it in a way where they can see that it's interesting and fun and not as hard as they thought would be really cool and powerful. So yeah.
A great story,
that's
Micah.
exactly.
Nice to meet you also.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Frank, have you anything to add on our comments? Anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, I suppose it's not related to Microsoft as such, but myself and a friend of mine, we've been doing this project there for autistic kids, we kind of raise some funds through the community and we convert the money into tablets like autistic kids can use inside in the school. But we finished one project there in one school here in Cork. It's a DESH school, so they don't really have much money. They be in the poorer part of the school regime, and we set them up with a computer class. We got 14 tablets and we got 14 PCs. So
That's decent.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So we have another 6 tablets now to go to another school, but we're kind of being put off every other week over COVID, so it was supposed to be on to this week and we're down next week. So we're going to deliver another 6 tablets to another school that has autistic kids,
That's amazing, Frank.
Yeah.
Dan, I think we should try over the next few weeks, if if things get good and people start getting really interested in our webinars, I think we should try maybe feature some of Frank's stuff if he would like us to on our page and get that out there, because that's a worthy cause, and especially when the funds in Ireland for autism and suicide and all these different things are, they're just not great. It's the likes of Frank and others that they think about the people that aren't thought about, and that's what makes people amazing, that sort of generosity and support.
I would agree. Yeah, for certain. I'm trying to think of the person's name that I met on Twitter that is Ireland based. She's I'll have to think about it and see if I can come up with her name. It's escaping me right now, but she runs and has done an event called Sober St. Patrick's Day, because it's something that never occurred to me really, but St. Patrick's Day for many is associated with drinking, and alcoholics have a problem with alcohol and don't drink. So as somebody that can partake, but didn't partake for probably 40 years because I didn't really find I don't like beer and I don't like the taste of alcohol. I can go either way. So I can either be the sober, designated driver, or I can partake in something that isn't beer or yeast. I don't like yeast or vinegar kind of flavors. But I brought up this, Joe. I didn't see your name fly by, so I don't think I had you in the cut of 300. But Betsy Weber is my community lead from a Microsoft MVP perspective. So I wanted to bring up her profile. And then Christian is from the West Coast and is somebody I met out in Seattle. And he's a community manager as well.
And that's one thing I also want to say is we're meeting amazing people across the world. Who says we can't, fight for each other? Say for like Frank, like we could be over here helping, trying to get the calls out too, and vice versa. I think, work as a team, work as a family. I think that when it comes down to that is very key to the success. And, I'm blessed just to be able to meet everyone and be able to, live my dream and give my vision. And what I thought growing up was my family was always known as giving, if that makes sense. And it's like, it's still like that. But I think at the end of the day, my heart is my life. So, I have to roll with it, and that's where I'm going with it. So, that's just it. I just wanted to add that little piece.
Yeah. That's a great point. Go ahead.
How are we doing on visitors then? Are people coming? Are they checking us out? Have we any questions for the team?
Hey, Sherry. Sherry Oswald said I'm making her dizzy because I was going through the profiles to find who was there. And it's big on the screen. So I should have done this and then fast forward. And then this with here's Christian, here's Mark, here's Betsy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Sherry is another MCT I know from Colorado Springs.
Okay.
Colorado. And she has made a comment. Let's see if we have anybody else in the event here with us. Control F. Sherry is also known as Shortcut Sherry, so I should have known that she would have a keyboard shortcut to save my.
At least she's quick on the puns. At least that.
Sherry, I'm pretty sure I saw your profile, and I was like, "Well, Sherry's in here." And typically, what had happened was, as I thought about different people that I'd worked with, like Joe and I worked on a project with Selena and some other people that made the original version. But then when I was culling it down to 300, I may have just gotten under the gun and decided, you know what, I'm just going to feature the next 25 or so that I already had in the next time that I do this, because it's not going to be as impactful if I keep on featuring the same 300 people in a people you should know in the Teams environment. If they've seen it before or pulled up the document, they're going to know the 300 people. And I'd say out of the 300, it's probably a balance between people I had never met that are at either Microsoft or at a partner, and then people that I know personally, either that I've worked with or met on LinkedIn, that kind of thing. Mike, I don't recall if your picture was in there, but you were somebody that I had met and had thought about from a Teams perspective. So I'll have to feature you in the next one.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, no
I
problem.
appreciate that.
Yeah, everybody on this call makes the next one. And then I'll have to decide if it's Teams people you should know, or, you know, Microsoft people, Microsoft community people you should know, that kind of thing. Maybe focusing on the larger community as opposed to just Teams. And some people made the cut that aren't like the program managers aren't necessarily focused on just Teams, but some of the people in here, like Mark Litwin, is a technical specialist focused on Microsoft Teams. So he a lot of times would make Mark Steele and my show that Matthew, I was thinking about this, we might be able to reuse some of the branding, because Mark and I were back and forth on whether our show should be the Mad Show. And Mark won, and he decided it was the Best Damn Show, DAM, for Dan and Mark. So we could be either Matthew and Dan, or we could be Dan and Matthew, and either go with Best Damn Show that he had already created a graphic for, or the Mad Show, whichever way you want to go.
I think because we're having such an open roundtable conversation, I think it should definitely be the Mad Show, because, you know, everything goes. We're all here to help each other out. And I mean, where would you get it? People in the United States, in Ireland, conversing online, sharing ideas, you know, building a community. You know, you just don't get that these days. Because of time differences and stuff. So I Best Damn Show.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, we could even call it the Damn Mad Show or something. We've got Micah, we've got another M. we can figure something out with it.
Love it.
Yeah, I don't see any other comments here. Now we have Benjamin. And sometimes these work. Yeah, they do. So I've been under the radar for a little formal certifications or acknowledgments, but over 8 years in the M365 development space. What do you all recommend from starting place to pursue more involvement and work towards that? Benjamin, thanks for the comment. Any thoughts from folks here if you're in Office Dev? I definitely have some thoughts. So when you go to mvp.microsoft.com, and I'm sharing the screen, good. And Sherry, I'm going to try not to make you dizzy. I'm going to move slowly and methodically through the Find an MVP section. There is a category for Office development. And so one thing that I would suggest from a standpoint of if you've been involved, since it is about the community, one thing you could do is find other MVPs that have that. So worldwide, there are only 76 MVPs that have been awarded in Office development. So it's a pretty small group. And if you don't know these people, one thing that I first tried to do, maybe 3 different times, was add everybody that was an MVP to Twitter. And I would run in, even with 76 people, to the daily limits. Hey, thanks for being so aggressive, Mr. Ray, you can't add all these people to Twitter today because you've reached your daily limit of following. And I don't remember if that was 40 or 100. There's some basically calculation that once you hit a number of followers, it stops you per day. And then the next day you can follow more people. But then there's also a limit of 5,000 people that you follow until your Twitter account becomes more popular and you have over 5,000 followers yourself. And so I struggled with, well, there's more than 5,000 people. Twitter shows you the people you're following based on the most recent. So the most recent were the people I wanted to follow, and I didn't want to scroll to remove people that I didn't. So I used a program, found a program that went against the application programming interfaces for Twitter, let me clean it up based on people that either weren't tweeting or weren't following me back, got my numbers under control. And then that was the first Twitter list that I ever created. And the person that I'm struggling with, her name, and it's gonna kick in at some point, and hopefully a discussion about it will help, is the first list on Twitter that I ever made was a list for MVPs. So I'm logged in, I think, to my company page right now. And so I can create a new list called MVP Buzz, worldwide MVPs, and there are no Microsoft MVPs. There are no limits to how many people you add to this, how quickly you add to it, or anything else. So as I find people that are MVPs and I confirm that they are MVPs, there's obviously no, validation other than what I can do to this list. I can add people, I can search for people, and when I find profiles and it says they are MVPs, I can add them to the list. And so I did this, and the list is over 1,700. This is another thing that I've been doing for a long time, and I don't know if I listed this as a contribution, but this would count because I'm bringing community together, right? And every month I point out, hey, I have this list, and when I see people use MVP Buzz and share that they've been recently awarded or re-awarded, that's how I basically keep this list as up to date as I can as one person. So whether you did something like this for Office devs specifically, the other thing that I would suggest is if you've ever taken the MS 600 course, Building Applications and Solutions with Microsoft 365 Core Services. The last time, I haven't looked at the labs recently, but the last time I looked at these labs, they were horrific. They were broken, either outdated because of Teams changes. I think all the Teams labs that were in the course broke. Many of the SharePoint labs broke. Many of the Office labs broke. And it was 5 days focused on 5 different areas. Microsoft Identity, which was pretty good because the identity labs are used a number of different places. Microsoft Graph, which I'd say the labs were probably 50%, 50 to 75%. And then the SharePoint labs went off the rails. The Teams ones, I think by the second or third, weren't working properly. And then the Office ones were, they were controlling the Yeoman generator, which is a command line interface to bring down like sample code. And because they were trying to control the version of that in virtual machines, some of the issues might have been on the virtual machine and the hoster's side. Some of them may have been on the versioning, that there was a newer version of the Yeoman generator that came down, and the code or the example or the test they did for the labs to work now didn't work with a newer version. But what I did with the MS 700 class was I used GitHub as a repository to make freely available to other MCTs or to anybody else, basically additional information about the Microsoft Teams administration course. So I expanded upon support. I expanded upon the Linux and the Mac OS and the mobile devices, as well as a couple documents that I've had found on the Microsoft site that I always have a problem finding when I teach the class. So I just uploaded them to my GitHub and made this freely available. So anything like this that you can see, you know, here's something that's been made available, but maybe it doesn't work, or the courseware might not be as good as the Microsoft Learn content, and just pointing people or kind of bringing that together for either other trainers that may not teach the same course every single week, or for the community would be another suggestion I'd have. Sherry's got a couple, it looks like here.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah, Sherry is Sherry, I figured I'd let you share who I heard the not technical enough from. And I know Sherry and I have spoken about this as well in length, because I know people personally that are MVPs that don't necessarily play in the deep end, what I would consider the deep end. Some other people would maybe consider the, you know, the space, you know, like kind of out there, or digging deep into the technical side, you know, the 400 level type stuff. Sherry does a great job of bridging a lot of that gap, because I don't think, you know, to the point others have made, I don't think you need everybody to be in the deep end of the pool. You need some people to explain what the people in the deep end of the pool are doing or what the benefit is of that. Yeah. So Sherry, thank you for that comment. It looks like we've got a couple here.
Could I, yeah, go on, go for it, Ted.
I was going to say, I see another comment Sherry made in the chat. No need to name names. and I didn't use any names except yours, Sherry. But I know a number of people have told me that, where, you know, some of their feedback has been they need to be a little more technical, and I won't name names either. But I think that's another interesting discussion. Matthew, we met just kind of like through LinkedIn, searching, finding each other. Let's say I was less technical than you, or you were less technical than me. And we haven't done enough discussion to figure out. I think we're playing pretty much in the same space in many ways. But Micah or Joe, I know you're, you know, very technical with Teams from a phone perspective. That's where I leaned on you quite a bit. Micah, I know we met through a lot of the end user and the communication, and talked about your background. What are your thoughts about maybe combining with somebody that's either the other extreme from you from a community perspective?
I think that's a great idea. If there's a need for that, you know, you'll have that. So I don't think it's ever a bad idea to be like prepared just in case, you know, but yeah, I agree. Like the biggest thing is that most people just want to be able to understand what you're saying, which, you know, if it's a basic community user, they typically don't have the knowledge yet. And so if you start speaking in too technical of terms, you're just going to lose them.
Right. So if you haven't used a snap camera, yeah, this would be an example of something that I don't consider technical, because I know how, you know, to install software and kind of work with software, and I like playing around with stuff. But for some people, the fact that you have a browser and a video camera that you have to feed in, and then you have this snap camera that acts like a virtual camera, and then I can change my appearance based on what I choose in the snap camera. So it's similar to what you have in Snapchat. If you're familiar with that, I don't know how to use Snapchat, but I figured out how to use the snap camera on my computer. This might be one of those things that you can use in Teams if you have the ability to install the snap camera. And many corporations look at this as something that, because of where Snap is sending the data, as part of what they're doing to make these fun little transitions or features available, something they don't necessarily want their enterprise users leveraging.
Yeah.
But that might be an
Because-
example of, bringing somebody that understands the front end of Teams, and then that's not even what I'd consider the back end of Teams, but it's, maybe a little more technical, or you need to understand the setup of it and have enough computers to play around with.
I had during the week, guys, I had an interesting question off someone. They asked me how they would get started in their cloud journey. Anybody have any suggestions?
Joseph?
How do you mean, trying to learn it or get a job in it?
I suppose they're trying to decide like what Microsoft learning would be worth doing in terms of cloud. Like what would get them started? Where would you start them off?
Fundamentals is always the best place.
Okay, and what exams would you be looking at? Would you be looking at the Azure? Would you be looking at the 365? The MS 900? What?
I suppose Azure is picking up big time, and I know here in Ireland it's only kind of based in Dublin at the moment, but a lot of smaller companies, since we had the big hack last year, Matthew, that the health system got hacked here,
Yeah.
that in the next 5 years, there's a number like for Microsoft, for the cloud alone, that 71% of small to medium businesses want to migrate to the cloud in the next 5 years, but there's nobody's going to learn Azure like in 12 months,
No, agreed. So there lies you would start with fundamentals in Azure. Now I know we're not all strictly Microsoft group here. Others have delved into the likes of SAP and CompTIA stuff and IC squared. So is there anybody that has any recommendations on CompTIA exams that would be worth training and looking at, that have helped develop their career and their personal I suppose their knowledge in cloud computing? Anybody?
I suppose I'm a big fan of Microsoft because it's a lot. The packages are a lot more user friendly than all the rest. And I'll just give you one thing. I done AWS last year. I done the fundamentals, the AWS cloud practitioner, and it's just awful. I done the certification, so I stayed with it for the whole year to do it, just to get it. But it's not good.
And what-
I done the IBM cloud for a bit as well. Microsoft is just way ahead, user friendly wise,
I
And
would
what
say
are
from
your-
I would say from a trainer perspective, AWS is AIA, I think it is. Their certification, their equivalent to the MCT, seems to have a much higher bar than the Microsoft certified trainer has. So I know to pursue that from their side seems to be more rigorous, I guess is a good word, than the Microsoft certified trainer. And that was something that I noticed that I'll be giving Microsoft my feedback on as an MCT. When I got my MCT, you had to take a train the trainer class. You had to sit through doing a teach back, getting feedback on that teach back. Many of those types of requirements have been removed. And, it's a good opportunity if you want to get into training, but the onus is really on you to validate your experience as a trainer. When I got into training, the train the trainer class I took was my only experience. So it wasn't like I came in with a year's worth of formal training experience. but Amazon seems to set the bar a little more rigorous before you're allowed to go teach. Microsoft has two avenues now. You can either just say, I've been a teacher for years and I have training experience, and send that in with a validation, and then you pass a certification and you're theoretically the same MCT or at the same level. There's not like a master MCT or anything at this point.
Do you
I
have
wonder,
Go ahead, Matthew.
I wonder, is that something they're going to develop down the line, Dan, to compete with AWS? I'd say that would be interesting.
That's a great question. I am not a regional lead anymore. So similar to the MVP program, Microsoft has a small number of MCTs that give the formal feedback to Microsoft and have the discussions about what the MCT program may evolve into. And I had done that for 2 years, where we were able to give some of this type of feedback. The pandemic, I think Microsoft took the appropriate move to make the MCT renewals and the fees associated with those waived, because the fees had gone from quite reasonable from my perspective to still reasonable for what you get if you're using all of the tools, but more expensive if you were teaching classes and Microsoft, for instance, doesn't give the Office trainers material. So you still get access to like software and other things, but you don't necessarily get like the classes and some of the benefits you get if you're in the development or the Azure or other areas of Microsoft technologies.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Yep.
Feedback?
I thought you were just going to be here for an hour. It's just I have to.
Yes, I was just looking at that too. We scheduled this for an hour.
Yeah. So listen, lads, nice meeting you, and
You
definitely we'll meet up with you again.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Brilliant. Thanks so much for coming, Frank.
Yeah.
No problem, Matthew. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Joe.
Thanks, Frank.
Thanks, Frank. I have to go as well.
Yeah.
But it was so great. Thank you for all the information. I'm excited to take a new journey in this direction. So
we're super delighted you all joined us this evening. As Dan would say, it's our first one. So we'll get better at these as time goes on, and we'll get more content, and we'll have more topics, and hopefully we'll get more followers. So honestly, Micah, thanks a million for joining us. Really appreciate it. And same to you as well, Joe and Dan.
Yeah, Joe, thank you so much. Matthew, thank you for suggesting this. This has been on my to-do list. And one of the difficulties of doing it alone is then if there isn't an audience, you're entertaining yourself.
It's the fear of failure when nobody joins. But sure, look, I was told once, failure does not stand for failure. Like, when you pass and fail exams, it stands for first attempt at educating yourself. So there's a thing out there. It's a slogan. So yeah.
And I thought it was wonderful. So anyway, thank you. It was great. Yeah. I'll talk to y'all soon.
Bye. Take care.
Thanks, Mike. Mind yourself.
So with that, I'm going to go ahead and end our stream. Thanks so much for everybody attending. And this will be available as a repeat. Matthew, I mentioned to you, we can actually schedule this at another time that might be more convenient for your time zone. And, some of the live conversations, I'm not sure if you have the same ability to, kind of promote those into the video. But you can start with a video or a portion of this video, and then you can go live, and kind of intermix between them. So we can talk about, some of those types of things as well for upcoming episodes.
And I think we might try and put an agenda together
Yeah.
before it, and you know, try and have a good varied content in it, enough to keep everyone interested in coming back.
Yeah.
And hopefully we make a difference. That's what we're about. That's what you're about, Dan. Same as yourself, Joe. You know, we're out to make a difference and help everyone. And this is unreal. I'm so delighted we're all doing this together, taking this journey.
Likewise, that's the other thing Mark and I did, to your point, Matthew, was we put together an agenda, kind of planned out what we were both doing. Another thing we can do with those videos is if I have a conflict at a time, or you have a conflict at a time, vacation, you know, work, Joe, from a standpoint of dinner, you know, other types of things, we could talk about putting together a video that could be shown, and then, you know, the discussion from the people that are available that time. So it's nice to do this with a community as opposed to solo. So thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Well, everyone, I'm going to take us out here with a short outro video. Thanks so much for joining. Have a great evening.
#MVP Buzz.